Before we go to the extended passage of scripture, I'm going to share with you a short story. Many times in the work that I do, I have parents who dump their children on me. And I almost felt the same this week because we were having about 103 ambassadors, and in the evening we have a handful of parents. I want to assume that a lot of these children, their parents are not here. I think they have come to college or they are living on their own. I think so. Because I doubt whether the 103 have parents here, then the parents would allow them to come every day, but the parents would not show up. Well, but I also think some parents who are watching online, I want to believe, maybe because of work engagements. But many times I have parents who are dumping their children on me for me to wave a magic hand or wand or potion, and this child is going to be transformed. So a colleague shared a story in a book that one time a parent brought a young man who was disturbing. And this father was asking the therapist to transform this child. So the therapist said, before I engage with the child, I want you to come for a session with the child. So this parent obliged, but he kept saying, but I'm not the problem. This child is the problem. Why am I coming? The therapist said, no, I just want to hear your perspective and the perspective of the child. True story. So as the child was trying to explain, a young man at maybe 17, the father was cutting him short and saying, no, that's not what you mean. Is that what you're saying? And the child could not even communicate because the father kept on cutting him short and throwing in words. Eventually, the session was not going anywhere. So the therapist asked the child to leave and asked to have a session with the father. One of the things that this young man was doing, he was harming himself. He was self-cutting. How many people have seen or heard or experienced a young person who is self-mutilating? Maybe they are cutting themselves or they are burning themselves. Let me see. It's not you. I'm just asking because, okay, that's my son. That is someone. I'm asking because, thank you, it's a trend that I have seen so much that I'm wondering whether parents are aware that this is happening. Young people self-harming, self-cutting. So when the therapist remained with the father, he actually told the father this: if I was your son, I would also be self-harming. I now understand very clearly the reason why your son is self-harming. Because the son could not talk, he could not express himself, he was silenced by the father, and so he had to find a way of bringing out the painful emotions, and so he was self-harming. And the therapist said, you know what, your child does not need help as at now. You are the one who needs help. And I have consistently observed in many of the places that I go to speak, children are over-controlled, over-protected, silenced, intimidated, and they have so much fear. And at the end of the day, they struggle with anger issues because they are not allowed to speak up, they are not allowed to express themselves. And I'm so glad that I requested the communication team not to record the ambassador's session because I wanted it to be private and confidential so that we are able to talk, because we were talking for ourselves, not for those who are watching us. So I want you to ask yourself as a parent, how are you continuing to replay the generational patterns of the way you were raised? You were silenced, you were intimidated, you couldn't speak. Now you're also silencing your children. And they have to find a way of expressing the way they feel because they don't have the opportunity. And how do they do it? They harm themselves because that anger must come out. And here we read about a young man who had an evil spirit, and the Lord Jesus actually spoke to the father. I will read the extended passage from 14 up to 24. So I'm going to read 10 verses. I ask that you follow in your own translation. I'm reading from the King James Version. And when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them, and the scribes questioning with them. And immediately all the people, when they beheld him, they were greatly amazed, and running to him, they greeted him. And he asked the scribes, what do you debate with them? And one of the multitude answered and said, Teacher, I have brought unto you my son who has a dumb spirit. And wherever he takes him, he throws himself down and he foams and he gnashes with his teeth and he wastes away. And I spoke to your disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. He answered him and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? And how long shall I bear with you? Bring him unto me. And they brought him unto him. And when he saw him immediately, the spirit convulsed him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed foaming. And he asked his father, How long ago is it since this came unto him? And he said, Since childhood. And often it has cast him into the fire and into the waters to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Jesus said unto him, If you can believe, all things are possible to him that believes. And immediately the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief. I don't know how many people have looked at our children sometimes and you have said, Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief. Because you're looking at your child and you're wondering, how is this one even going to make it? And it's sad because many of us as parents, we use academic performance. We use the grades to tell whether our child is going to make it or not. And yet when a child is struggling with academic performance, usually it's a symptom of a deeper issue. The grades are not even the issue. I had a child recently who was brought to me because he is struggling academically and is performing not up to standard. Can I just say very poorly? The parents are committed in the church and they are full vegans and they are country living and they're doing everything a good Adventist should do. And they are on mission upon mission and they were not understanding why the child's performance is dropping. So the child was very gracious. He told them I can talk to a counselor because he was self-mutilating, he was self-cutting. That's why he left wherever he was. So when I spoke to him, I asked him to tell me about what he's struggling with. He said, nobody seems to understand me because what my parents and other people are doing, they are claiming scriptural passages on me. They are claiming the spirit of Elijah and Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel and the spirit of excellence. And they are claiming that I shall be the head and not the tail, and that's not my problem. I said, what do you mean that's not your problem when your grades are getting to F? Then he said, it's not the issue. I said, what do you mean? Because your grades had been very good. So I asked him, what would you like to be when you grow up? He said, there is no point. I said, what do you mean there is no point? Because you're 17 now, you're going to grow up. What would you like to be? Because I wanted to take it from there and ask, so whatever you want to be, do you think an F will give you that? He said, there is no point because I'm dying soon. So I said, true story. So, and it's not just one story. These are several stories, but I'm just giving this particular one to illustrate a point. So I said, what do you mean you're dying soon? Are you sick or something? He said, no, I'm not sick, but I'm committing suicide soon. I said, why do you say that? He said, I have attempted twice and I have not died. But now I am preparing myself to try a third time, and for the third time it's going to work. I said, why? He said, because I have been fearing using a lot of force to die because I've been fearing pain. So I have started cutting so that I can get used to the pain. So I said, tell me about the cutting. To what extent? He said, just recently before my parents got a counselor, I cut myself so deeply until there was a pool of blood. Where I was there was a pool of blood and I bled so heavily. So I feel I'm getting closer to tolerating pain. So the third time I am dying. So there is no point in me talking about what I want to be in future because there's no future for me. And the child has been raised in an Adventist home, cradle roll when the mother was pregnant, taken to all the clubs that you can think about. They eat soya meat. They take soya tea. They take soya milk. I think they're almost wearing soya clothes and carrying soya handbags. Just a lot of us. You know how much water you should be taking and you're taking. You know how much vegetables. As a matter of fact, you're weighing them. You have a weighing machine. How many vegetables? You even have a bottle that is written 2.5 liters. And it's even telling you the right time to take half a liter at 8 a.m. Everything like that. Okay, I haven't seen anybody's bottle, please. Don't say I'm talking about you. If you feel I'm talking about you, I apologize in advance. But I don't know people here, so I'm just talking. So I'm trying to tell you that so that you don't begin blaming the parents, because this is what many times you find in scripture that was being asked, is it this young man who sinned or is it the parent? So I'm saying that so that you know it can be any of our children. It can be anyone. So you don't start saying, God, why me? What have I done? And so this, what can I say? This aspect, this scenario of self-harm, I have really been concerned about, and I've been reading about it, and I've been researching, and I've been asking, why would somebody want to inflict pain on themselves? The only other time in the Bible, other than this scripture, where I find somebody harming themselves is in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 18, verse 28, where the prophets of Baal, we are told they cried aloud and they cut themselves after their manner with knives and lances till the blood gushed out upon them. You remember Elijah and the prophet of Baal at Mount Carmel. That was the only other time in scripture I can see people were cutting themselves. That is why I strongly believe that some of these things have a demonic origin. Because why would somebody want to cut themselves? And some of them usually, as you have seen from this story and others, it's a progression towards suicide. And normally when somebody is doing this, they are cutting or they are committing suicide, it's a case of extreme anger. They have anger issues. They have not been able to release or project the anger outside, so they direct the anger at themselves. And the reason why they cannot bring out the anger is because they are dealing with a powerful, stronger person, the parent. So the parent looks at them like, you know, you are in my house, so you have, it's my way or the highway. And they have no way of bringing out the anger and bringing out even how they feel. So that means that because of that extreme anger, the anger has to go somewhere. And in fact, this young man and many others, they tell me, I ask, after you cut, does it feel better? They say, yes, it actually feels better. And I trust them. And I believe what they're saying. It just must be feeling better. You doubt why I say that? I say that because when somebody is in extreme emotional pain and they cut themselves, they have something distracting them from the emotional pain. Have you ever burnt your finger, maybe when you're cooking, or you cut your finger, then you do like this? Have you ever done that? Does it help? It actually does. It actually does. You cut yourself, you burn your finger, you do like this, it cuts. Because now it's scientifically explained. Because what happens, I don't know whether I should use those terms, you are activating a different pathway in the brain. So it's like that attention is directed towards the pressure of you doing this and you don't feel pain. So then, but the question we ask is why the anger? Why the pain? Because we don't deal with the symptoms, but we deal with the source of the pain. Why the pain? And let me share with you from what I have heard, from what the young people have told me, and even from what I've read. Why do they resort to self-cutting? Because if we don't understand, we will go praying, fasting, which is okay, exorcising demons, and then we don't address the real issue, which is the pain that the child is facing. So we go praying and we still keep wondering, and during the week we learned that it's biblically not correct. Neither is it theologically correct to say, God, where were you when this was happening? Because the psalmist says, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So you will walk through the valley of the shadow of death, but God will be with you. He may not remove your enemies, but he will lay a table before you in the presence of your enemies. So we might find ourselves struggling with this, but the question is, are you with God, even in the midst of this, in the valley of the shadow of death? So I wanted to give common reasons and then talk about what to do as a parent if your child is self-harming. And by the way, let me even say this. Whether it is self-harming in terms of self-cutting, drugs or alcohol or sex or masturbation or pornography, the principle is the same. Because I have seen sometimes when you find children are in very strong Christian homes and they cannot engage in these other ways of self-harming, they resort to cutting. Because maybe the environment does not permit them to get into masturbation, pornography, drinking, sex. So they resort to self-harming. So it's the same thing. It's all self-harm. It manifests in different ways. So the issue is why the pain that is causing them to react in this way. Sometimes some of our children, they actually feel nothing. They have been so numb because we have made them silence their pain for so long. We don't allow them to speak up and say how they are feeling. Because you're like, how can you feel like that? You know you are a Christian. The Bible says, children honor your parents. But you know, sometimes I tell ambassadors, ask your parents, what does the Bible say about parents? Yeah, ask them, what does the Bible say about parents? When they are using the Bible to guilt you, what does the Bible say about parents? Apply the same Bible on yourself that do not provoke your children. First of all, don't provoke your child. Then you can now be at liberty to use the scripture of honor your parents. So some of our children, they feel nothing emotionally. They have numbed themselves. They have numbed their pain. They feel so disconnected from their own emotions as well as from other people. And it's like life feels so unreal. Have you ever been with your child or somebody's child and they just touch you and they're just staring? And you're talking and they're just staring. They actually feel nothing. So some of them, when they cut, at least it's a sign of feeling that I'm alive now. Self-harming, yeah, it makes them feel I am alive. I am actually connected with my body and with my pain. Some of them, they need a way to outwardly express their pain. They are going through so much emotional pain that they need to express that pain outwardly. And how do they express? They cut to show that I'm actually feeling so much pain inside, and that is a way of bringing it outside. So again, the question is, why the emotional pain? A lot of them are unable to articulate themselves. Self-mutilation gives them an outward way to identify with their inner pain. Does it concern you that a lot of our children cannot express themselves? Honestly, it really concerns me. It really concerns me that many times I have sessions with young people and they cannot express themselves. They're just looking, they're trying to talk, they have no language. And I always look and say, how has the parent helped this child to have a language to express how they feel? Some of them resort to violence. They hit someone because they cannot speak. They cannot say, this is how I'm feeling. And sadly, let me just say this. Specifically, the way as African parents we raise our boy children, there's a lot that is to be desired. We raise our boy children with violence. When they are trying to express themselves, they don't like a certain school, they don't like something, we yell, we shout, we intimidate them, we tell them, you're a man, men should not be like this. Then they learn that, they cannot express themselves. I was telling Elder Moses the other day, I think it was yesterday or the other day, we were saying how in many families, the girls are the ones who take care of their parents. Have you observed something like that? So we were talking about it, and I was telling him that is simply a symptom of what has been happening. Because in many African homes, the girl child is favored. Yes. If you have a little money, you are going to give the girl pocket money and you leave the boy. They are both children. They are the same age. Then the boy is left with no pocket money. He's told, when ni mwanaume, he's left to walk. The girl is given money so that she can take a matatu, so that she can have extra pocket money. The boy remains with no money. Then when they grow older, now they have jobs, you are expecting the same son to come back and support you. But how? Even me, I wouldn't. How? How would they support you when you neglected them and you met them with violence? You cannot even listen. If a boy is saying the way this school is not good, you say, kama unataka kuacha shule, kaa hapa nyumbani. Unataka kuacha shule, utaenda jela. You'll go to prison. And he's trying to express a genuine need, a genuine concern about a school. When a girl is saying she doesn't like the school, Mom, you don't like the school? Don't worry, Mom, we are going to move schools. And then the girl becomes a city hopper. from school to school because she's favored, she's listened to. But then the boy is left to suffer. He goes through bullying. He goes through discrimination. At the end of the day, he feels numb. And he's only waiting to just leave home. Then you start calling and saying you need money for medication. But how? How? Then you're saying, my son, maybe it doesn't happen here, but in some cases, you start saying, my son, I need medication. My son, let's talk. Get lost. What are we talking? When I wanted you to talk, you were not there to talk to me. Please, we need to rethink the way we are raising our boy children. Because they are children. Let's not raise our boy children with violence. Then when they become violent, you start complaining, saying, who is this? Some children tell me that the parents are saying, I wish I never gave birth to you. You are the worst mistake that ever happened. Did they send you? It's a choice to make a baby. It's a choice. They didn't send. So why would they be told it's a mistake to give birth to them? Honestly speaking, it's not fair. It's not even right. So it's important to give our children a language. And I'm not saying that they be disrespectful, but I'm saying that just let's listen. They have a point. Let's not conclude. If they're trying to tell you something, listen to the very end and try and understand what they're talking to you about. Now, some of the young people who self-mutilate, they feel that they deserve to be punished. They feel because maybe they made a mistake and the parent keeps on guilt-tripping them. Some young people tell me that when they have made a mistake, then later they are asking for something, the parent keeps taking them back, tormenting and torturing them on the mistake that they made. They keep on being reminded, are you an angel? Are you an angel yourself? If you are an angel, your wings are broken already. So you are not a perfect angel. So why are we expecting our children to be angels? That they made a mistake and they are guilt-tripped and they are reminded and reminded over and over again. I have a relative who the daughter got a child after Form 4. A close relative. And this relative said, umekuwa bibi ya mtu. Me, I only have one wife in this house. Anything you need, talk to your mother. So anytime she would come from college and she needs money, he said, anything you need, don't talk to me. I don't talk to women. I talk to girls only. I can't have a child who is a woman because you have a child. So this girl went to school. She completed college. Now she's working and she has a family. And it's sad that this father, when he is sick, she's the only one who can send money. He goes to her now. He says, my daughter, I have always loved you. Really? Loved who? Love is action. You love Namdomo. Love is action. Well, maybe you love her, but your actions are not in line with your words. And when the actions are not in line with the words, we take the actions. We take the actions. We don't listen to the words. So now this is the only daughter. Well, maybe not the only one, but this is the daughter who is easy to reach to, and yet she was immediately abandoned after she got a child at 18 years. And he said he has got no business to deal with her. So some of our children may be in so much pain that they feel they need to be punished. So they punish themselves by self-cutting, drinking, smoking, premarital sex, pornography, masturbation, because they want to feel like they deserve to be punished. The other reason why our children could be self-harming is because maybe they have gone through trauma. They have gone through pain, and we don't know as parents. You cannot believe how many children, young people that I have worked with who have been sexually abused in their homes, and the parents are not aware. They have been sexually abused right in their home, and the parents are not aware. And some parents, when they are told, they shut the child up, they victimize the child, they blame the child. They blame the child, they say, but where were you when it happened? Shut up. The child shuts up with that pain of abuse. They keep quiet. Then later on, when they are harming themselves, that is when the parents realize, and sometimes it's too late, really. So really, do you know where your children are? Do you know who they are talking to? Do you know who they are interacting with? Do you know how they are experiencing the other people within your locality? Do you know that? Do you talk with them? Do you create a safe space for them to talk about what they are going through? The fifth reason is some young people especially, because they are feeling so bad, they feel so terrible, they want to replace this with good feelings. And how does it come about? When they self-harm, they actually feel good. Anybody who has been addicted to drinking or smoking will tell you, or masturbation, pornography, they'll tell you at the moment it actually feels good. You get what I'm saying? At the moment when you're doing it, it feels good because it's an escape from a painful reality. But of course, afterwards, definitely there's suffering that comes. But at that moment, it actually feels good. So they want to escape from that pain that they are going through so that they can have some pleasure. Now, the other point is some teens, some young people want to connect with their friends. Because their friends are doing it, they also want to connect and they want to do it. I remember one of the girls I was talking to, she had friends who were all, let me just use the word broken. All her friends were struggling. And she kept on telling me, my friend, this one, the father left them. This one, the mother is irresponsible. I mean, all her friends had issues. But for her, the way I would look at it, her family didn't have such major issues. But because she wanted to belong to that group, she also started doing certain things to fit. Like to suffer in the pain, to commune. Do we say to commune in the suffering? And that's why I told young people that, tell me your friends and I will tell you your character. Do not be deceived. Bad company ruins good morals. You sleep with the dogs, you get the fleas. There's no debate about it. And I told you young people that I have made many mistakes in my life. But a category of mistake that I've not made, I've never drunk, I've never smoked. I don't even know how bangi looks like. I've never been in a bar. Like the way you go meet a friend in a bar and restaurant, me, I'm not there. I don't go to bars. And the way you sit with people, they are drinking alcohol, you're drinking soda or something, no, I don't do that. I don't go to places where people drink. I don't host guests who drink in their house. I don't do that. So if I'm hosting you and maybe it's a party and people are drinking wine, no, you don't come to my house. My house is a no smoke, no drinking free zone. You know why I have not drunk or smoked? I have never ever had a friend who drinks or who smokes. It's not because I'm righteous. You're thinking no, I'm not. I would have easily drunk and smoked, but I haven't because I've never had a friend who drinks or smokes. And that's intentional. It's deliberate because I grew up in a house with alcohol. And I said, I don't want to look like these people who drink. So do not tell me that you're in an evangelistic friendship. Ati you are there, my friends, ni watu wangu, so nawasaidia. It's all right. We just tell you what is happening downstream. If you want to go and step into the tiger's mouth, it's all right. But we have warned you, there's a tiger. But if that's where you want to go, no problem. Choices have consequences. The other reason is that actually some people, they may be having a mental issue. One of the days we looked at, I think it was on Wednesday, it's okay not to be okay. So it is possible that some of our young people, it's an ambassador Sabbath, so I'm talking so much about young people and their parents. So it's possible that some of our young people could actually be struggling with a mental health issue. And we learned on how to identify signs of a mental illness. You can go back and check on YouTube. So it's possible some could be having a mental health issue, and so they actually need help. So the question that I would like us to focus on as parents, if your child is already engaged in self-harming, maybe your child is engaged in self-harming already. Maybe they are drinking, maybe they are smoking, maybe they are engaged in premarital sex. I hope they are not. What do you do then as a parent? And when I talk about engaged in premarital sex, I know our young people are singing so powerfully and they're looking so good. But statistics in Kenya, they actually show that by the age of 15, 3 out of 10 people are already having sex. By the age of 15, 3 out of 10 young people are already having sex. The thing we don't know is that whether it's mine or yours, they're having sex when their bodies and their emotions are not ready to handle the consequences of sexual intercourse. By the time they get to 18, 5 out of all the young people are having sex in Kenya. by the time they get to 18. Me, I believe mine are the 5 who are not having sex. Mimi nimekata. Hiyo story ya premarital sex mimi nimekata because of the consequences. So I trust and I believe that it's not our young people here, it may be others. But numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. That's what the numbers say. But I always tell my children something, and I will take advantage to say, because all the ambassadors here are my children. I want to just say it this way. In my culture, there are many cultural beliefs in my own culture that I've shed off because they don't make sense, they don't serve me. But one of the cultural beliefs I keep repeating, you may get bored, but I'll repeat it for the sake of those who have not heard. One of the cultural beliefs that I hope to pass to my children is that when you become an adult, you get into a relationship and maybe you get married, you will not have sex under the same roof with your parents. Did you hear me? There is no way your parents can be having sex under the same roof and you're also having sex. I was in a church, and one of the complaints ambassadors' parents had is that some of the ambassadors are bringing their boyfriends, girlfriends, and having sex in their houses, in the house of the parent. And these are people who live in informal settlements, so it's maybe a room, maybe 2 rooms. And the parents were complaining that, you guys, our problem is, unakuja na girlfriend, you have sex with them in the house. No, that's a curse. That one for me is a curse. Even at my age, when my children can confirm, when I go home to visit my mother, if my husband sleeps in our home, he will not sleep under the same roof with my mother. Never, ever. The best that has ever happened, he goes to my brother's house, which is across the road. You understand? Across the road. Not on the same side, across the road. He goes to sleep there. Me, I sleep in my mother's house. And even when I got married, my mother-in-law has a big house, but there is no way I was going to sleep with my husband under the same roof with my mother-in-law. No. And the first question my mother asked me when I presented my husband, my daughter, does he have a house? My mother asked me that, does he have a house? I told her, house, what? It doesn't matter. Us, we live in Nairobi. Nyumba ni ya nini? We live in Nairobi, and we have just completed college, so why does he need a house? My mother says, listen, does he have a saiga? I said, no, it doesn't matter. Us, we love each other. So I did not listen to my mother. So we got married. My husband didn't have a house. They just had a saiga that the dad had built for all of them. So we get married, and we are visiting his home. And then because the mother has a big house, but we can't sleep there, I am left to sleep with the mother. He goes to the maternal grandmother's home to sleep there. So he went to sleep with his grandmother. I slept with his mother. I said, no. That was after the honeymoon. I said, no. My mother was right. Young people learn from our mistakes. I said, my mother was right. So I came back to Nairobi. I told him, my friend, I am never going to go back to your home until you get a house. My mother was actually right. If you don't put up a house, we will live in Nairobi. Tutaka Nairobi. We'll stay in Nairobi. We are not going. Within the very few years, because he wanted me to go back to his home, he put up a house. So now we have our house to sleep in. So young people, let me tell you something. I told you, and some of you maybe thought that what I'm telling you is very old-fashioned. You have no business committing to a person and promising to marry them when you're under 25. Did you hear me? If you forget everything, and I'm telling parents to hold you accountable, you're not presenting somebody to me and saying you're marrying them under 25. You know why? Because number one, when you're under 25, you have not matured. You're still a child. You have not matured. It is science. Don't argue. The frontal lobe has not matured. You're still a child. So 25. And then for most of our young people here in Africa, or rather in Kenya, under 25, you're still in school. You're still in university. You don't have a job. Sex is very expensive, emotionally, financially, and everything, because a baby may most likely result. You are not ready. You are not prepared. But after 25, you're financially, maybe, emotionally, mentally, spiritually ready to commit yourself to somebody. But you can't be promising somebody anything when you don't know anything. Do you even know yourself? How can the blind lead the blind? Spend this time to understand yourself. Read books. Don't tell me you're idle. You're telling me you're idle, you have no books to read, but you're on TikTok the whole day. You're on Facebook the whole day. I told you, every day read about 30 pages of something with good punctuation and something long. So text messages, they don't count. Read something intelligent. But don't be sleeping that you are so idle. Then you say, but teacher, you said we wait until 25. Before 25, what am I going to be doing? Excuse me. Read. Learn to make chapati. Learn to boil an egg. Learn to make tea. Learn to stitch your own clothes so that when the hem is falling, you don't put a stapler. Have you seen people who the hem of their dress or whatever is coming out, and then what they are doing is they put a stapler or they put sellotape? Please learn to stitch your own clothes so that you don't inflict yourself on another person. Relationships are not an emergency. Wacha niongee kwa Kikisi, maybe you'll understand. Relationships are not an emergency. Marriage is not an emergency. Please. Learn to know yourself. It's not the years and the time that you're going to spend in misery. Some of your parents, and you know it, they made wrong choices and they are struggling. And some of them, you're even telling me the way they are raising you single-handedly. Yes, they are, because they made mistakes. Must you also make the mistakes your parents made? Must you be like the prophets of the Israelites, not the prophets, must you be like the kings of the Israelites who decided not to listen to God and they walked in the ways of their ancestors? Do you want to walk in the ways of your ancestors? Some of you despise your ancestors. Me, I despise some of my ancestors. I don't like them. But then if you don't change, you're going to walk in the ways of your ancestors. And we said you can rewrite your story. You don't have to respond as a victim, but you respond as a victor. You know better, you do better. Some of your parents are doing the things they are doing. You know, let me tell you as a matter of fact, some of your parents, the only exercise they do is jumping into conclusions and beating around the bush. So you just try to say something, they jump. But they cannot even walk. They're just seated, jumping into conclusions. They can't listen to you. They just want to beat around a bush. They're not direct. But those are your parents. And we said you look at them as friends, not as enemies, because they want the best for you. They don't want to sabotage you. But you shall decide, instead of having the only exercise as jumping into conclusions, you will come tomorrow, we go hike. We are going up Nandi Hills. We will go up Nandi Hills, by the way. Then when we go up Nandi Hills, we learn how to rewire our brain so that we can be transformed by the renewing of the mind, and we refuse as young people to walk in the ways of our ancestors. Ni baki hapo. You remain there as we have refused. We are not going to walk in your ways. We are going to say raising children single-handedly is not our portion. We are raising men of valor who are going to take responsibility over anybody they talk to, anybody they touch. They are going to take responsibility. They will not abandon their children in the forest. We are going to be a generation of young women, daughters after God's own heart, not daughters of Jezebel. We are not going to objectify ourselves. We are not going to present our bodies as dead sacrifices to be used by sons of Ahab or Nebuchadnezzar. We are not going to do that. But we will decide that we will take responsibility. Our role is not just to be liked, to be admired. We also have the power to like, reject, and admire. We will not just be there that, oh, he likes me, so ntadu. I don't like you. Siwezani na wewe. This is not the right time. And we will choose and we will say no. And we actually mean no. You will be amazed that many of the young people I talk to, especially the girls, 99% of them, I don't want to say 100%, who have engaged in premarital sex, they will tell me it was not a choice. I always ask, they say, Aki usini judge. I'm like, asita kujudge. They say, and I met this guy, and I met the other, and I had sex with him. And I asked them one question, just tell me, did you want to have sex? They say, no, I didn't want to have sex. I said, why did you have sex and you didn't want to have sex? Then they say, but did I have a choice? I say, of course. They ask, which choice? I say, you can say no. They ask, you mean I can say no? You mean I can say no? I can actually say, I say, yeah, you can actually say no. You are not a dead sacrifice for anybody. You can say no. They say, really? I didn't know that I can say no. So we are raising a generation that can stand firm and they can say no. So, before I end, I want to equip the parent with skills. Now, as a parent, if you realize that your child is harming themselves, we are coming to the end of the presentation this morning. If you realize that your child is harming, either they are engaging in sex, in pornography, masturbation, drinking, smoking, self-harming, suicidal tendencies, hopelessness, helplessness. If you realize, what do you do as a parent? Because many times, some of us parents, we are not equipped with skills on what to do. We shout, we yell, we call everybody, and we mess up everything. We don't actually help. So what do you do? Talk with your teen. Talk to them. Talk with, not at. There's a difference. Talk with them. Primary English. Talk with your teen, not at your teen. Don't throw words. Don't throw words at your child. Talk with them and say, I noticed that you have been drinking. Don't ask, have you been drinking, kijana? Have you been drinking? They will say no, and you will say they are lying. Don't ask, because you can see, you have evidence. Just say, I noticed that you have been drinking. Can you let me know what it is about? Insist that they need to identify the triggers. Because some of them will say, I don't know. The thing is, they may not know, but they need to reflect deeper so that they can tell you what are the triggers. Is it maybe because they have lost something? Is it because they are grieving something? Is it because of failure? Maybe they are finding themselves failing in their exams. Is it rejection? Have they been rejected? But young people, we said, ukiachwa, ukikataliwa, wacha kukwamilia mtu. If they have told you, just move on, leave them alone. So sometimes it could be because of stress. Because of stress in the family. And here, allow me to just single out some of us as parents who are raising children single-handedly. It's not your fault, but we get overwhelmed. My mother raised us single-handedly. I've shared my story because my father died when I was 2, maybe 3 years. My mother was in her 20s and she had 8 children. 2 died and she raised 6 of us single-handedly. She did not have an education. So she was raising us literally in the trenches. You know, when we talk about being in the trenches because you get so hungry and there's no food to eat. So what were we eating? You go to the shamba and you eat raw maize. You pick maize from the shamba, raw maize, and you eat it because you don't even have a matchstick to light a fire and roast the maize. You go pick out sweet potatoes and you eat dirty sweet potatoes because there's no water to wash the sweet potatoes. You pick beans from the shamba, we ate raw beans because there is no other way to cook or to do anything with the raw beans. Okay? I told the ambassadors that at some point, I was taking care of my younger sister. I was 6. My other sister was 3. My other sister was 1 year. So I am given a child 6 years. Who is a 6-year-old girl here? Let me see. I'm 6 years. That age. Stand up. Stand up, my dear girl. I'm this age. 6 years. Thank you. And I was not looking as beautiful as her because I was obviously miserable. So please sit. Thank you. So I'm carrying a 1-year-old, maybe 9 months, to the clinic, and I'm walking with my 3-year-old sister because I'm the one taking care of her. And I walk with the baby on my back 6, maybe 7 kilometers. and the baby has no kitamba. Don't even tell me about clothes. Don't talk about diapers or nappy or whatever. The baby has no shawl. There's no lasso to carry the baby. So I'm carrying a baby like a monkey on my back. So I walk the 6-7 kilometers to take the baby to the clinic. The babies cry, I'm crying. My sisters are crying, I'm crying because they are hungry, they are thirsty, and I'm crying. Now, I was relating something so that you don't think I'm speaking from a privileged position. So I know when you're raising children single-handedly, you can be overwhelmed. And some of your children have told me, and don't victimize any of them, that the parent is raising them, mostly the mother, single-handedly, and she's overwhelmed and she throws very sharp words at the child. You are not living with the father of the child, and you're telling them, macho kama ya babako. Kwa nini ulichagua hiyo macho? Why are you asking a child like that, and yet you chose to get that person? Go ahead, commit the act, get a child with the person, and then you're triggered and you're telling your child, macho kama ya babako. Excuse me, is that even fair? It's not their fault. So you can be overwhelmed sometimes, and then you can end up wounding so deeply your very own children because of the pain. So if you are raising your child single-handedly and you're overwhelmed, identify your village, identify your community. Because the truth is, it takes a village to raise a child. You cannot raise your child alone. You can't. We are wired, we are created for community. So get somebody when you're so overwhelmed and just say, please, can you take care of my child? So that you don't end up wounding. Some of the words we say, and I've said some words myself, they damage these children forever. Because they cannot rise above those words. We are, of course, learning to rewire our brains, but we don't have to subject our children through very hard time to learn how to deal with the pain that we have caused. So I was saying, find out, is it family problems that are making our children to self-harm? Because usually it's one of those. Now the other one, we were talking about handling the problem. So we say talk with your teen to try and figure out any patterns. Number 2, help your teen to identify the underlying problem. The self-harm is just a symptom. There's always the underlying issue. And many times it could be anger directed towards a parent. And because they cannot direct it to the parent, they direct it at themselves. So find out. If you notice that the behavior is persisting, please seek professional help. Prayers are good. Fasting you need to do. So I'm making a critical assumption that as an Adventist, you're reading your Bible and praying every day. That one you must do. But then please just know that it's possible for you to have a counselor and Christ. You can have a psychiatrist and have the Bible. So it's important for you to seek professional help. It is very important that for you as a parent, you need to be involved, you need to face the problem, you need to talk about it, and you need to work it out together. Because many times when your child is self-harming, the entire family needs healing. That child is the identified patient of the family. And in fact, I can tell you in my work with families, I normally realize that the child who is struggling is the healthiest. That child who is struggling is usually the healthiest emotionally because for them they are playing it out. But the other ones are keeping it in and it's going to affect them later on. So just know that our family, don't keep saying ni issue zake, ni wewe tu anasumbua. Kwa nini ni wewe unasumbua tu kila wakati? Ni wewe. But just look at it like our family may need help. So seek help if the behavior continues and resist the urge to keep secrets and to be ashamed because of what you're going through. If there is one character that loves shame and secret, the devil loves shame and secret. And struggles or sin thrives in shame, in silence, and in secret. The moment you keep it a secret and you say, hey, everybody else looks okay, we are the ones who are struggling. Anytime you keep quiet like that, that particular issue thrives and the devil enjoys that shame and the secret. And I'm not saying you come in front of the church and you announce, or you stand on top, you go on top of a tree and you broadcast. But you know what? There's that one person. And don't tell me you don't have a community or someone you can share with. Maybe if that's your case, you may need to form friendships when you are during moments of peace. Because it's not in that moment of struggle that you're going to approach a stranger and you start telling them, because they don't know you. So we need to nurture those relationships whereby not everybody can be bad, surely. Everyone can't wish you ill. I know we have people who wish you ill, but not everyone can wish you ill. There must be that one person that you can talk to so that you don't carry the burden alone, you don't struggle alone. Finally, when we look at the story that we have just read, Christ told the disciples that this young man, actually, the Bible records that this young man had been struggling since childhood. He had been struggling since childhood. I want to tell you, parents, that the struggles our children are having now when they are a bit grown, they didn't begin now. They did not begin now. If you're very honest, you will remember that even as they were growing, there was this, there was that, and there was the other. They don't start now. And sometimes we say, oh, but my child was so okay, but eventually when they got to teenage, things fell apart. No, things have always been apart. It's just that now you're seeing it now because maybe the child is older and they have a choice. But you will always see a pattern. There's always patterns. Patterns don't lie. There's always a pattern of a struggle. So don't wish it away and don't just say something like, young people are like that. Which ones? Which young people are like that? These young people, which ones? Which ones? Let's just face it. Let's say my child is struggling with this and I think I actually may need help. And help is at hand. And Christ says such kind only goes by prayer and fasting. And the father, looking at his child, he actually wonders that this one really. But then actually the child gets delivered. And that's the message that the Lord has for us today.